Hello, everyone. IMS welcomes you all to our webinar series, The B School Insider, all you need to know about your dream school. And I'm your host, Kalyani, for this webinar. So in today's session of the B School Insider, we will be focusing on IIM Ahmedabad, campus life, placements, and academics. And in this webinar, we will talk about the journey of the 4 panelists who have joined us today from IIM Ahmedabad, the CAT and PI prep tips, their CAT journey, their prep journey, the campus life, the academic schedule and faculty. We'll be also talking about the internships and placements at IIM Ahmedabad and more. So let's welcome our panelists. We have got a very interesting line of panelists today. We have Prakhar Gupta. He's from the 2023 batch. He will be soon joining BCG. He did his bachelor's from IIT Delhi. We have Shivam Kumar. He's from the 2021 batch. He's a product manager at Amazon. He did his bachelor's degree from IIT Roorkee. We have Padmasandhya. She's from the 2024 batch. She studied chartered accountancy in her bachelor's. We have Neelay Jain, also from 2024 batch, and he also studied chartered accountancy in his bachelor's. So we have 2 IITians and 2 CAs in our panel. So welcome and thank you so much for being here for this session. So let's start from your CAT score. A little bit about the interview selection process, tips to ace the interview as well as CAT, how to do your CAT prep, and a little bit in this section. So let's talk about your CAT score. Also, if you have had work experience before MBA, or you're a fresher, and yeah, so we will and maybe one tip each. So we will start from the current batch. We'll start from Padmasandhya, then Neelay, then Prakhar, then Shivam. Yeah, Padmasandhya.
Hi guys, thank you, Kalyani. So because I'm a CA, I didn't require a very high percentile. Mine was 98.5. So I got through with that. And tips for preparing. So I was working, I have 2.5 years of work ex, and my work was pretty stressful. I used to log off very late. So I didn't really have much time to prepare. So what I did was just go through the reference books of Arun Sharma, and I just took mock tests. I think CAT is not per se a test of aptitude. I mean, it is obviously, but it is more of a test of strategy as to knowing what to choose, what to do, and what to leave, more importantly. So that way, mock tests really help. But of course, you need to have your basics clear, then mock tests are the way to go. So that helped me. And my strongest section was VARC. I didn't really prepare for it. And in DILR, LR was good, but DA, no, not that great. And QA, some topics were fine, some topics were not that great. But so I just focused on what I was weak at more than what I was strong at. And towards the end, I focused on what I was strong at so that I could boost my percentile a bit higher. Regarding the selection process at IMA, my AWT was very
We'll be talking about the interview
okay.
In the next question. Let's talk about the CAT
Cool.
score and the maybe one tip. Since you spoke about your weak section, so I'll come back to you on how do you prepare on that section. Yeah, Neelay.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, much to add to Padmasandhya's points. So my score was 99.98. I am a fresher actually, so I needed a high percentile.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I spent 3.5, 4 months actually preparing for CAT, and so yeah, the idea was to play it on strategy, and of course, mock tests were a very important bit in trying to boost my score. But one more other important fact was that I never waited for. I mean, there's no such thing as a syllabus, but I never waited for for me to complete the syllabus and then start writing the mock tests. So it's important to start writing them parallelly and try to get a sense of what the paper is like and analyze a lot, identify what you're good at, what you're bad at, and play it according to your strengths. So that was one important thing.
Okay. Yeah, Prakhar.
Yeah. Hi guys. So I have 4 years of work experience after my undergrad. So yeah, so my CAT percentile was around 99.56. And yeah, if you have less number of years experience, you will require more percentile as an engineer. One special tip, again, as Neelay said, again, revising your mock and everything that you have done is quite important. I can give a few tips in each section later on, but yeah, but right now, revising the mock. So my recommendation for everyone is to revise your mock clearly to identify where you are lacking, which particular section did you lack, where particular topic did you lack, where was your accuracy high, and so. And I think that is what is important at the end of the day. So that is, we can expand on it later.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Shivam.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi.
Thank you, Kalyani, for having us here. I had 2 years of work ex before CAT. So I had a score of 99.78 percentile. So one tip I would say, what apart from what Prakhar and Neelay has said about analyzing the mocks, that is for sure is the topmost one. Apart from that, I would say for the D-Day, it's more about choosing the right questions than doing more as many questions than doing all the questions that is there. So choosing the right questions at the right time is very important. So yeah, that is it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Padmasandhya, you were talking about something about the section. So yes, so now today the good thing is that the entire panel is divided into two, engineering and non-engineering. So yeah, so so Padmasandhya, you can answer this bit about for non-engineers. Usually it's the quant or the DILR section which are like more challenging than the VARC. So which part was your weakest, and if you can just tell us how exactly you prepared, and the other question Neelay can take. Yeah, Padma.
Yeah. So for me, VARC was the strongest VARC. So I didn't really prepare much for VARC because I wanted to devote more time towards my weaker sections. Having said that, it is within DILR and QA, you have to focus on what is your strongest suit and try to maximize your score there. So that's what at least worked for me. So as Shivam had said, it's about choosing what to answer. So for example, in QA, I didn't really like number theory much, but I was pretty good at functions and geometry and all of those. And I was good at, using calculus to solve them. So I didn't really like number theory much. Of course, you can't leave it, but in the main test, choosing those questions is very important, the ones that are strong enough for you. But you have to practice everything. And in DILR, I was very good at LR. DI not so much. So again, over there in the test, I tried to do the LR sets first because I was fast and I got them easily and correctly. But having said that, sometimes LR sets can be wrong. So we should not just go with the thought that, okay, I'll just do LR, I'll leave DI completely in preparation. That could be fatal because if you go there, you might realize that the DI sets are very easy. And because you had this preconceived notion that you are not going to do DI, you might lose out on scoring really well. So my tip would be to take a few mocks first before preparing, before even starting preparation, and understand what are your weak areas from these mocks and start focusing on them, but also understand what your strong areas so that you could be the best in them.
Okay. Yeah, Neelay, you want to add anything? Which one was your weakest section? How did you prepare for it? Also, it's already mid-May. So from now till November, till CAT day, how should they be scheduling their preparation? When should they start taking mocks, according to you, of course? Yeah.
Right. So my weakest section, I think, was VARC. The reason for that is that I'm a bit of a slow reader.
Okay.
So the way I went about it was that my accuracy was pretty decent. What I did is I tried to put myself in a position where I can at least attempt 3 out of 4 RCs and all the VA questions, and then try to have a high accuracy. And that's what ultimately happened in the CAT paper as well. I had an accuracy of about 95%. So that's only one wrong answer out of around 20. Okay. So that's the way to navigate it. Give yourself more time and play to your strengths, because it's very easy to mess it up if you've not read the RC very well. And in terms of planning your CAT preparation, so I think writing mock even today is a good idea. Starting today, And
Okay.
I think it's a good idea to write one mock a week, or maybe maximum two mocks. Even two is a bit of a stretch. You can probably increase it to two in August or September, and then bring it down to one once again in October, November, in that time.
Okay.
And yeah, like Padmasandhya mentioned, it's good to write 0-day mock tests where you're essentially trying to figure out what you're good at and what comes naturally to you, and what opposed to that, what you need to work on. Again, it has to be very strategic. Ultimately, working a lot on trigo, or topics like which are very rare, which are only probably asked only once in maybe two mock tests.
Okay.
That's not a very good idea to spend a lot of time there, unless you're of course having a background there in which you can already capitalize on that. Otherwise, I think that's the way to go about it.
Okay. Okay. Prakhar, which one was your weak section?
Yeah, for me, as all engineers have it, VARC was the weakest section.
Okay.
So the point was that, so there are two aspects. One is choosing which questions you have to do, and the second is attempting it with the correct accuracy, right?
Okay.
So for me, the tip while choosing the questions are basically, let's say you have 3 RC sets and some VA questions, right? So some articles would be based on some RCs would be based on, let's say, business, economics, science, literature, philosophy, right? So you need to understand which of the topics are your best, which you can comprehend the best, right? For me, literature and philosophy did not work, so I used to skip them at the very first go, and I went ahead with the business articles or economics articles or science articles. So
Okay.
that was my first preference while doing that. Secondly, what I tried to do was that I tried to scan where the questions are, right? Where are the VA questions, where are the RC questions, and try to attempt all the sentence correction questions together, right? Or whatever the VA type questions are, right? So I tried to attempt them in the batches so that my mind remained fresh, right? And how you can improve your accuracy, what I learned about after reading multiple articles was that once you read an RC, every paragraph that you read, try to summarize that paragraph itself within that RC, right? So it will appear that you are going to be slow, but once you subconsciously try to summarize each and every paragraph, your understanding of that paragraph and your retention of that paragraph will become high, right? And then once you go to the question, so the main problem that happens with the aspirant is that you need to refer back to the initial paragraph, that what did the writer say in that paragraph, right? So that is the main problem. So if you have retained whatever you have read in that article, or sorry, RC, then it would be much more easier for you to attempt and increase the accuracy. So for me, that was something that I found different from my previous CAT attempt.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Neelay, can you answer this question? How to find a pattern in VARC questions in the mock tests? Every time I give VARC section, it seems different. How to avoid this kind of situation? Can you answer this?
I think it draws more from what Prakhar said, to be very honest. So there is this one friend of mine who was taking CAT classes with IMS, and one of his professors told him that it's nice to score your RCs, right? And score them on different parameters. So let's say you're giving you have let's say 3 different parameters. One is the type of topic, which is literature, philosophy, and so on. Second is the difficulty of the passage itself. I mean, how deep is it? Third could be probably vocabulary, maybe, or fourth could be length, something like that, right? So you can create 3, 4, 5 parameters for yourself. Create a score of 3 or 4 where you're giving points, and the lower the better, right? So in case it's scoring very low, then you should attempt that first. Of course, this will end up taking around 4 or 5 minutes of your time, but the way to, I mean, it's always a good idea to give it time early on, rather than wasting time after you've read it and after you're when you don't have a plan to go by. So I think that's the way to draw some consistency. Of course, on a very objective level, that level of consistency may not always come, because the nature of the section is such that it's always going to be a bit abstract.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this is how you can create some structure around it.
Okay. Yeah. Shivam, this question is for you. Yeah, Padma.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think one tip that I like to give for VARC is that before you read the paragraph, just go through the questions of the paragraph first, just to get an idea of what exactly the paragraph wants of you. Because a passage can read in a few different ways. So instead of going in blind, I would suggest that you first skim through the questions relevant to the passage and then begin reading it, so that there is a more focused approach and you'll be able to understand what exactly is needed from you faster.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shivam, this question is for you. How to maximize score in DILR? What strategy should we follow?
Okay. For DILR, right? I would say in every year in CAT DILR, there would be out of 8 questions, there would be few which they would like you to skip, because that would be very difficult or time consuming. It's not difficult; it's time consuming, and you are always short on time, right?
Yeah.
So during the preparation phase, first of all, there are different categories of the types of DLR questions that comes in it: Venn diagram or game theory or anything related to pie chart, line graph. So there are different types of DLR questions. Practice each type once, or practice each type of questions, and see in the previous years what type of DLR sets have come more, right? That is first thing to do, and analyze which one are the difficult ones. Usually it's not a standard pattern, but usually you will, if there are a lot of conditions or criterias, you will figure out at the first class that it might take more time than usual, right? So during the question selections on the D-Day, just try to pick the ones first which are going to be, so there would be two definitely very, very easy, right? Which you can crack easily. So it's the skill to identify which one is going to take less time and which one is going to take more time. Keep the more time ones aside, because based on the practices you have done for each category, you'll figure out, for each category, if the conditions are very high, or the number of situations or conditions are very high, then probably it is going to take more time. If it is less, then probably it is going to take less time. So having that understanding would help. I think that is a way to score good marks in DLR. Others can add.
Yeah, if anybody would like to add, or we can move to the next question. Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep taking CAT prep questions as and when is being asked in between the session. So let's talk about the personal interview now. So yeah, again, Neelay, you can start with a personal interview, as in since you were a fresher, what were the talking points? And of course, Prakhar, you've had 4 years of experience before, so you were the questions more related to your profile, your work experience? Did they ask you anything from your IIT Delhi days? Did they tell you to solve something and all that? Yeah. So so you can talk about your PI experience, your personal PI experience, and maybe a tip. Neelay, you can start, then Padma, then Prakhar, then Shivam. Yeah.
Right. So being a fresher, I mean, it was pretty clear for me that, and not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I was told that there are about 5 buckets around which we need to prepare.
Okay.
This is standard. I think everybody is told this. You have your work ex, undergrad, hobbies, and your current affairs, and so on. So a lot of my preparation was around current affairs, and I did have 3 years of internship experience through CA, but I knew that was going to take the back seat. So my interviews were centered around current affairs a lot, and trying to, very abstract questions generally. So just to give an example, in IIM Ahmedabad, one interview question was whether I knew about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and after that, continuing on that, asking a couple of more questions requiring me to apply my mind on and trying to create something there.
Okay.
Some questions around technicals from CA, but that's tested at a very basic level. That was my experience across all colleges. Technical knowledge was barely tested at a granular level. It was more on the surface side. So this was pretty much it. I spent a lot of time preparing current affairs. those generic questions, tell me about yourself. I didn't see a lot of them coming. Strengths, weaknesses. I think we are now moving away from that. And the interviews were pretty short. I think one of the reasons was because it was online, but usually it lasted for about 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes maximum. So yeah, it was morely around more on these lines.
Okay. Yeah. So has it become like a norm now that they've moved away from those questions, like the traditional questions about tell me about yourself and then probably, asking something from there? Is it? Has
So
it become a norm?
in my experience, that was the case.
Mm.
I mean, whoever I spoke to, I think this was the tendency, but I'm not
Mm.
very sure. I mean, others can
Okay.
add probably.
Yeah. Padma, you can talk about Padmasandhya, you can talk about your experience, your personal interview experience, and also the kind of questions that were asked. And since you were also a CA plus you've had work experience as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so my interview, I think it explored a lot of diverse topics. It was
Mm.
not restricted to any one thing. So I
Okay.
had obviously started with tell me about yourself as
Mm.
opposed to Neelay. So
Mm.
my started with tell me about yourself,
Okay.
and then they asked me about my work, and they asked me CA technical portions relating to my work,
Mm.
and they expected a slightly deeper knowledge than that because I had worked in it. And
Mm.
then they asked me about the organization. Then they asked me about my hobbies. They asked me about animals. They asked me a lot of geography questions.
Not
One of the
animals.
questions,
They asked you
yeah,
about
and I had
animals.
a lot,
Okay.
yeah, that's because in my profile itself,
Ah,
I'm a lot about animal
okay.
welfare and all that. So
Okay.
that
Yeah.
question
Mm.
naturally went there. And then I was asked about poets from, I'm from Tamil Nadu, so they asked me about poets from Tamil Nadu. Then they asked me a lot of geography questions. I don't know why, but they seem to think I'm some geography pro. So one question that I was asked was, if you're walking from Ukraine to India and you only have to take a land route, so
Mm.
what all countries will you cross? What route will you take?
Wow.
So then I had to visualize the map, and then
Mm.
like I gave the correct answer, but then I said, see, you're gonna have to walk through Afghanistan, so you won't make it in one
Yeah.
piece. Then they were like, fair enough, you can take a sea route. Then I said, okay, then you can take the sea route and come to Mumbai and then you can enter. So a lot of questions. And one important thing is I didn't know all the answers to the
Mm.
questions they asked. And it's okay to say I don't know rather than bluffing your way, because they can easily make out if you say something wrong.
Mm.
So I think one tip that I would give here is, I'll give two tips. One thing is that when you're preparing from your technical portions as well as for current affairs, etc., to finish all of it in one shot, I would suggest that if you're reading a technical portion today for the interview, try to read current affairs that relate to it. Alternatively, if you're reading in the newspaper, such and such a thing happened, try to read the technical portions from your undergraduation or from your work experience there itself. So it all gets sorted then and there. So you make the connections as well, which is what they're looking for.
Mm.
And the next thing is, you tell me about yourself. If you're asked, can make or break it. So what you tell there, if you're not comfortable with talking about certain topics, don't bring it out in the tell me
Okay.
about
Mm.
yourself question. If you're really thorough with them, say those and tell me about yourself, so that the interviewer also asks questions from those areas only. That's
Correct.
it.
Yeah, great. Yeah. How long was this interview then?
Mine was half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they covered a lot of grounds in that half an hour for you.
Yeah, it went
Yeah.
everywhere. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Prakhar, what kind of an experience was that for you?
So it was an
Was it a online
yes, yes,
thing or
yeah,
yeah?
it was an online
Okay, yours
interview.
were okay, yeah, yours were also.
So it
Shivam,
went
yours was like face to face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mine
that'll be
was
interesting. Yeah, okay, yeah, Prakhar.
so yeah.
Yeah,
So I think offline experiences are a bit scarier than video
yeah,
conferencing. So
correct.
yeah, I felt not that scared.
Hmm.
So so my interview went around for 20 to 25 minutes. And since I had the work experience, so they expected me so to connect my work with whatever that is going on in India. So my client was, let's say, based in US. So they wanted me to connect my work in India itself. That let's say if I was working for credit card client in US, how is the credit card industry in India, right? How is the credit growth in India? How is the macroeconomic indicators looking out in India, right? So they expect you to know more than what you are working on. Obviously, I was asked in Bangalore interview about my work ex, but in Ahmedabad, I was asked more about what I can know about the business itself, right? So they are looking at that acumen, right? Next thing they asked me about was my hobbies, and so I mentioned I like reading books. Then they went into it that which one of them you have read and everything. So that was one line of questioning. I had also written one paper, so that was also standing out in my resume. So that's what they started diving deep into it. So my tip would be again, whatever, as Padmasandhya said, that whatever you are mentioning in your intro or you are writing in your, you will have to write a small profile write-up before submitting, right? So you should mention those things that you are comfortable in explaining or let's say talking about it. And it should be more of like a conversation kind of thing rather than an interview kind of thing, right? So you need to build that rapport with the professors. You may joke around it, right? But not to a very bad level. But yeah, you should have a good conversation with the professors, and they would love to have you, right? So you would know whether you have got into it or not just by looking at the conversations that you have had. So yeah, that was the interview experience for me.
Okay, yeah, Shivam.
Yeah. So for me, it was an offline interview. I don't remember how long was it. I think probably 30 minutes. I don't know. But I think across the interviews, right, IMA, IMB, NC, so it has been around the journey that I've gone through, most likely, like in most of the questions. So it's very crucial to create your own journey starting from, school, place where you have been born or brought up, then intermediate or 12th 11th 12th, then college, what did you do in college, which stream was it, then your work ex location, and then finally coming to CAT prep. So the questions have revolved around all these things. And so for me, just to take examples, right, for me during the IMA interview, it was around my company, right, what I do in my work, who is the CEO, what is the thought process of that person, what are his principles and all those things. Then it went into since my undergrad was in electronics, so it went into some questions around electronics. Then since my work ex was in Hyderabad, so some questions around politics of Hyderabad, you know, who is the current CM and how is it relationship with BJP and all. Then since again I'm an engineer, so some questions on maths. So basically, and then in other interviews as well. So for IMB and IMC also, it has revolved around my place of origin. So if there were some historical figures, of how was their journey and all those things. So it's very crucial to like think of what all questions can come across each stage of your life, and as I think on the other end is just keep preparing the current affairs, right? That's it.
There was a question asked, was the question why MBA asked, and Shivam has answered. So it's for everybody. Why MBA question is usually asked, so it's good to be prepared very well for that question. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's talk about, Prakhar.
Yeah, so it's important that let's say you have a very different profile as compared to let's say a fresher or let's say a person with 4 years of experience. These are the people who have really different answers on why to do MBA. For me, they pinpointed me that let's say I have the 4 years of work ex. What will I learn from a fresher, right? So that is something I used it in during my prep. I had prepared an answer, but again, they will cross question you that why are you specifically looking for an MBA and what specific things will you add to the class as well. So I think these 2-3 things you need to reflect on before going into the interview.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Kalyani,
Yeah.
I'd just like to add on the SOP part. So
Yes, yeah.
because I wrote one SOP for IMB, I had a very interesting experience there. It's very important to write it very, give it a lot of thought to it, right? Because the interviewer was able to guess what client I was working on just by the description I gave. And that is one piece of the interview that lasted for 15 minutes. And this is an engagement that I basically worked on for about 15 to 18 months. So I was very well, I mean, I was hands-on. I knew a lot about that particular topic. And that is one thing which drove my interview very easily. So it's important to leave those, let's say, nuggets, for them to find, to pick on, essentially. So yeah, that is one way to use your SOP.
Yeah. So even if IIM Ahmedabad is not asking for an SOP, but it's a good idea to write an SOP anyway, because then you are asking yourself the right questions, and then you are answering. So you figure out where, what, and how to answer. So yeah, it definitely helps you.
Notwithstanding the IMA process, I think just to get into a good B school, I think.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's move to the next section, all about academics. So in this section again, I'll be talking to Neelay and Padmasandhya more, because internship and placements will be fully handled by Shivam and Prakhar. So yeah. So let's talk about the academics. Like everybody says, IIM Ahmedabad is has the most rigorous curriculum, and people are only studying and moving from one class to the other. Is it true? And how hectic is the schedule there? And yeah, and then we'll talk about the clubs and committees. There's also a question about clubs and committees. Yeah. So Padmasandhya, you can answer this. How rigorous is the academics at IIM Ahmedabad? And also, when do you choose the electives? Is there bidding for electives? And Neelay, you can pitch in and add. Yeah, Padmasandhya.
Yeah, so it is pretty hectic, but you kind of start to enjoy it after some time. So to start off with, we have a class at 8:45 a.m. and then it's three sessions of classes that go on till 1:10. But some of us don't eat lunch because 1:45 we know we'll get to know whether there's a surprise quiz or not. So at 1:45, everybody at the mess or any other eatery we're at, we're all just looking at our phones waiting for that message. And if there is a message saying, yeah, you have a surprise quiz in so and so subject. So some of the subjects that I was not good at were like generally the more of organizational theory subjects. So I would get scared when I see those messages. And then 2:45, you would have the quiz. So you have 1 hour to prepare. So then you go and people get together in front of the classroom everywhere, and people will share notes and each one will help the other. So that is very, very good in IMA, is that everybody is supportive. So nobody is generally out, saying that no, I'll do it for my own self. Nothing like that. Everybody supports everybody. So that is good. And then 2:45, you take the quiz. It's either good or it's either bad. And then what happens is 2:45, the quiz will go until like 3:15 or 3:30 or something. And then you'll come out and then you'll probably take a nap for a bit or something. But then again, you have to get into study groups or something, so that you'll have a lot of group submissions, etc. to do. And people either get gathered in the library, or so many other common room kind of things are there. So you can get together there, and then you'll have your own individual assignments to finish. But in the middle of all this, we all take time to also go and enjoy ourselves. We have a new sports facility there. So firstly, I like the courts there, so we go play and do all of that. And then it goes on, and we have club meetings, etc. Sometimes it start at midnight. So my father always used to ask me, why are you going to a club meeting at 12:30 a.m.? But I said, no, that's the way it is. So all of that happens, and then you sleep very late. So this is how the schedule is. It is hectic when you think about it, but you actually come to enjoy it after some time. And after that, if you're not doing anything, you suddenly feel very listless. So yeah, that's the thing.
Okay. Yeah, Neelay, can you talk about the clubs and committees, and also which clubs and committees are you members of? Yeah, you all can answer that. Yeah, Neelay, can you talk about the clubs and committees? And also, have you selected the electives already?
Yeah, for the fourth semester we have.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am currently a part of the finance club, which is Beta, the mentorship club, the Entre VC club, which is Entrepreneurship Venture Capital, and a couple of SIGs also, which is which are so there are separate types of clubs. Some are interest groups and some are not. So SIGs are essentially, I'm part of Prayas and also Smile. So yeah, I mean, the IIMA has a list of I think 50 clubs or SIGs, so there's all opportunity for everyone.
Okay.
And there are certain rules around what clubs you can, how many clubs you can get into of a particular kind. So the clubs do a lot of work, right? And they keep you very occupied generally. So it's a very good idea to be part of clubs because you get to engage with people outside your own sections as well. So always a good idea. And if you're entering into clubs which are of your interest, then ultimately that adds on to your own personal knowledge base as well. So yeah, the clubs are, I mean, two things that were really good for me in the first year was my clubs, and second was doing case competitions that that also add a lot of value to you. So also depends on your background. People who are unfamiliar with some of the subjects that are taught in the first year, they end up not choosing so many other activities, and they try to focus on what's being taught. And if you already have some sort of a background, then it's good to do something else. So in terms of rigor as well, that rigor is always there, but you can to an extent choose to be however busy you want to be. So that's always that element of control is always there in your hands. And electives, I think if anyone else wants to take it up, then
Yeah. Padmasandhya, which clubs and committees are you a member of?
So I decided to join Niche, which is a marketing club, because I
Okay.
wanted something very different.
Yeah.
Then I joined Media Cell, where we publish our monthly student magazine.
Okay.
And then I joined the music club Decibel, because I really like music. And then I
Okay.
also joined Possible, which is the animal club. So because again,
Okay.
goes naturally with my
Yeah.
profile. So yeah, that's it. And electives, I've taken a wide variety of electives, a little bit of everything. So
Okay. Yeah. Prakhar, were you a member of any clubs or committees? And do you have to be, I mean, is it compulsory that you need to be part of any clubs or committees?
No,
Yeah,
it's
Prakhar.
not. It's not necessary. It's up to you that
Huh.
where do you want to work in, whom do you want to work with, right?
Okay.
And so there are 3 kinds of clubs. One is career clubs, which is
Hmm.
again consulting, marketing,
Hmm.
finance, right? And
Hmm.
then multiple, right? Second is some cultural clubs, like as she said, music club, dance club, right?
Hmm.
And the third are special interest groups, right?
Okay.
So each and every club would hold their interviews, and you would be asked to write up a profile, then interview with them, and then you get in, right? So
Okay.
it's up to you that what is your inspiration or motivation to join that club, and whether you want to do the work or not, right?
Okay.
So they will test you on that, they will grill you on that, right? And so I think, again, it's important that you don't get a fear of missing out. We call it FOMO in the campus, that everyone is joining that, let's say, consult club. Why are you not a part of consult club?
Okay.
So don't get into that trap. Again, do whatever you want to really do. I think there was a question that how to handle which clubs are easy to get in and interesting. I mean, it's up to you where you want to join. And again, workload will be more in career clubs and less in other types of clubs. But again, if you see dance club, they prepare dances which require a night out, right? So again, workload will be higher there. I'm just giving an example. Again, whatever interests you, you can join.
Okay. Yeah. Shivam, which clubs or committees you were a member of?
I think I was part of Abacus, which
Okay.
was a quant related club, and I
Okay.
was part of product management career club.
Okay.
I was part of mentorship club cell. So yeah, these three. So product management was my area of interest. So that is why I'm maths is another area of interest for me. So Abacus, which was the quants club for IIM Ahmedabad. So these two mainly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a few questions. Okay. Again, a lot of questions about, okay, how to answer gap year and will it affect in the interview? Who would like to answer this regarding gap year? Yeah. Shivam, would you like to take this question?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, gap year is it's not that it's completely seen as negative or something like that, but you need to justify strongly or just give a proper justification of what did you do in that gap year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What was the rationale? So if it is like in that gap year you were doing some side projects or you were working on something of your own, then you justify it. You were doing so many people were having gap year because I know some of my friends who were preparing for UPSC, right? So they had a gap year, couple of gap years, and then they wrote sat for CAT, and they went through it. They are currently in IIM Calcutta. So it's not that you cannot justify, but you should have a strong reason, or they'll ask you on what exactly did you do in this 1 year or 2 year, what was and why. Then why did you change the route? What was the new learnings that you had? So it's just that justification that you give. If you are just saying that you were not doing anything, or you were not clear on what you are going to do, something like that, so that might not fly. But if you are having a strong justification, that will sail through, and people have gone through it and are in currently I'm ABC.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This question is for Padmasandhya. From where should we prepare for general awareness for group discussion? Yeah. How to prepare for group discussion?
I think general awareness is something you should cultivate probably for a few years, because it's not something that can come immediately, right? You can't read an encyclopedia and say in 1 month I can do it. So it's a habit that has to be cultivated over time. Having said that, I think reading newspapers is a great idea. So initially it might seem like you don't understand anything, but that's okay. Over time you gradually understand what is being talked about, and you develop a genuine interest in it. So that is one place. And general awareness does not mean just current affairs alone. It's also static knowledge, like for example, what's the history of your state, or what is happening elsewhere in the country, or about yourself also. Awareness about yourself, about your place, about your family. All of these also constitute a general awareness. So people generally think it's current affairs, but it's not. It's much more than that. So I think a good reading of the newspaper, and just randomly reading any blog or reading any encyclopedia or something should help.
Okay. Yeah, Neelay, this question is for you. Can please mention how or what to revise in each section after we have done the mock analysis? Example, in quant, we can note in difficult questions and notes, and we can revise it after a few days. What are the things in VARC, DILR that we have to note for revision during last year days to exam? So basically, yeah, last few days for the exam.
Yeah, so I agree that revising, I mean, it's easiest for quants because there's some pattern to it. But for VARC, I think it's difficult to revise, to be very honest. Okay. So it's better to have some notes or maybe some sort of questions. I used to screenshot everything that I used to find that this is going to be important for me. And I go back, I check, I look at the logical fallacy that there was. Try to take some notes, try to figure out what's going wrong. I used to speak to my friends who were also good at VARC to try to understand, what was their thought process behind, reading. So it's always good to have a couple of people who are also preparing alongside you. Try to find someone from your classes or something, and then you can discuss. You'll have different strengths, so you can discuss what went wrong or right for you. So that's on the VARC front, not much to add, to be very honest. But yeah, DILR, once again, it's about, for me, it was not so much about revising than it was about selecting the right questions. DILR is, if you start off by answering the right questions, then that makes your entire section process very a lot better, because what happens is if you're attempting the easy ones first, then you're saving time on there, and then although you have difficult questions lying ahead, you have a lot of time on your hand, and it's going to take some time. So you don't even have that pressure of having lesser time, and also you're done with whatever is going to yield the maximum marks for you. So these things are important to keep in mind. Other than that, of course, if there are certain tricks or certain formulae that you know about, let's say solving the cube related questions or tennis tournament related questions, always good to have. But because there's a whole it is a very wide host of questions that can be asked.
Mhm.
So it's not so formula driven than it's strategy driven, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Prakhar, this question is for you. I have converted IIM Ahmedabad and will be joining this year. I want to know the must-do things in the first term and things to avoid during the first 2 to 3 months to have a great starting at IIM Ahmedabad in both academics and extracurricular aspect. And Padmasandhya, you can add. Yeah, Prakhar.
Uh, so I would say again, the thing they give to do thing is that
Mm,
first thing that you need to do is that the prep courses that they have given, you should do those. And I think the accounting one is really great for you to start with it and get a head start.
okay.
Again, second is once you are in there, you should really try to explore and then try to eliminate that things that you don't want to do, right?
Okay.
And things not to do is get the fear of missing out, right? That should not be with you. Again, everyone is doing something or the other thing according to their own interests. So you need to identify those activities that you want to do based on your interest, right? So you will need to choose which committees to join, which clubs to join, right? So you need to identify your own interests and then accordingly join those clubs. There will be a interviews kind of thing. You may or may not get in, but again, you need to identify what interests you in, right?
Okay.
And lastly, what things that you need to do while in the campus is again study for the maybe I'm just asking you to study for the next class that is there. You will be given cases to study. So it's better to be prepared to extract more learning rather than going unprepared to the class. At least I used to do with 80% of the classes which involved cases. So yes, it becomes hectic at some point, but you need to manage your time very much.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Padma, you want to
And
add
just to
anything? Or we can. Yeah. Yeah. Shivam. Yeah.
add one more thing. So if you want to have good acads or good grades, first term becomes very crucial
Okay.
because that's the term. If you score good, it builds on, because otherwise in the coming terms it's difficult to pull up the grades,
Okay.
right? You'll have to score more to pull up a bad grade that has come in the first one term or two term. But if you have
Okay.
a good grade in the first 1-2 term, it becomes easier to keep it up or maintain that.
Okay. Yeah.
So my
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I would like to say here is two things. One thing is don't lose your individuality because it can get very, very easy to fall into the trap of what the rest of the people are doing. FOMO, like they said. But in a lot of people have come and told me, yeah, I wanted to do this, but then because everybody else was saying that no, that is not a good idea, don't do it. You do this, this is only good for you. Like others don't know what is good for you, right? So my advice would be don't lose your individuality. Don't be scared to try something new, because one thing that IIMA gives you is a safety net. That is the one thing it promises you. You can take the chance, and in case it doesn't work out, that's a safety net for you. So stand out, do something, do what you want to do, don't fall for it. And the second thing is don't become too intense, don't become too stressed, don't take anything including yourself very seriously, because once you start doing that, you've taken a lot of stress and pressure, and you will not be at your optimal, or you will not be at your best. So I would say don't take a lot of stress. Try to, if it's sometimes things will not go your way. You're competing already with the top minds of the country, so a lot of people have this issue. They come there because they've topped their whole lives, they feel that I'm going to top here as well. But here it's already the list of people who have topped generally. So it's fine to lose sometimes. Just be happy that you're someone better than you were yesterday. So these are two things I would like to say.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's move to the internships and placements. We barely have time. So yeah, Prakhar, can you talk about the internship process very briefly and your experience as in, did you intern for the same company that you were placed with, or how exactly was it? Yeah. So.
Yeah, so internship, basically the placement process is like this, that the companies visit the campus on 3 days Cluster 1, Cluster 2, and Cluster 3.
This
So
you're talking about the placement or the
both,
internship? It's the same process,
kind of
right?
process,
Yeah. So just,
Yeah.
So,
So in the first day, you will have consulting and finance. The
Okay.
second day, you will have marketing and general management. And
Mm.
third day, you will have product management, right?
Okay.
And the good thing about IIM Ahmedabad is that you can, once you have gotten placed, you have the opportunity to dream in a company that you want, right? Across days, not within that day. And the experience was that before the placement process, whether it's internship or the placements, it is quite hectic. Once you see everyone is preparing, once you see your batchmates are doing cases, they are doing preparation. So it is really hectic. And it, for me, I have seen a long work hours during my 4 years of work, but it was a difficult thing or a very different thing for me to go through that process. On the day, we have the placement committee to guide you where you have to go, where you have to interview. And yes, I got the internship in BCG itself, and I converted their offer.
Okay.
So the placement process was good enough, and it is IIM Ahmedabad placement process is known to be quite student friendly, and you would really feel that yes, they are doing good for you. Again, there will be some mishaps there as well, but again, overall, it is much more student friendly.
Okay. Yeah, Shivam, I'm gonna come back to you in a second. Padmasandhya, you want to talk about your internship, your experience, briefly, as much as you can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to try something different. My whole point of doing an MBA was to acquire a completely different skill set. So I didn't go for any of my day one shortlist, and I went for a marketing internship. So currently I'm interning with Nestle, and it's been really good. It's a completely different experience because my problem was I used to view everything from a finance perspective, but now I'm actually building a holistic perspective, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm learning a lot of things.
Very nice.
That's what I wanted to add.
So you are actually kind of planning to make a transition towards marketing. I mean, is that the plan? No.
So the idea is that I acquire different skill sets so that in the future I can be, or I can try to be, a good business leader, so that I'm not limited to thinking only from one perspective. So this is to help me acquire different skills and to build that cross functionality as well.
Very nice. Yeah. Shivam, you can talk about your placement experience, and also, was it a PPO? Amazon, was it a PPO or not? And what was it, your internship in which company did you intern with? And since yours was what, for product management, was the third cluster, right? Yeah. So how was it? Did you sit for all the interviews? Yeah, all that.
Okay. So first of all, IIM Ahmedabad placements are categorized into three, or done in three phases. First is the summers, second is the laterals, and third is the final placement, right? So summers is basically the internship process, right? So I interned in PhonePe as product manager. I got a PPO from there, but then during second year there are a lot of case competitions, right? So there was a case competition of Amazon, which is named as Amazon Ace. So through that case competition, I got a PPI, which is pre-placement interview. So then that happened even before the laterals and the finals. So laterals usually happen in January or Jan month, and finals usually happen in Feb month. These interviews, the PPIs happen during November, December, right? So I had the offer before even the laterals or the finals started. But just to give the context of how the laterals and the finals work is, final placement happens very similar to how the summer internship placements happen, right? So that is very similar. Same three-day process, three clusters, right? First is finance, consulting, then marketing, and then product management or general management. But the laterals one is basically, it's a long 20 to 30 day long process. Every day there would be few company coming in, and they have a full day to take the interviews and exhaust you. and this exhaustion continues for around 20-30 days if you are if the luck is not with you. So this lateral process are much more exhausting and aggressive. But there in the laterals, I think the people who have only a certain minimum number of months of work ex are allowed to set. Every year that criteria changes. I think either 18 months or 20 months or 22 months, whatever it is, that changes. And companies who are looking for folks having previous work ex participate in that process. So yeah, these are the three placement process that happen in IIM.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take a few questions. Can someone please tell about the student exchange program? What's the selection criteria? Who bears the expenditure, etc.? Yeah. So who would like to answer? The first year would like to answer? Yeah, Padmasandhya. Yeah, go ahead. Neelay, you can please add. Yeah.
Yeah, so the student exchange program, it's an excellent opportunity. So I think both Neelay and I are going on exchange in term
Oh,
5.
lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. When
And
is
it
that?
may
When is that happening?
September to December, mid-December. So we have to come back for term 6.
Okay.
It mainly depends on your GPA. So 70% of it is given to your GPA. And if your process starts sometime in January, it basically depends on your term 1 GPA. So just like Shivam said, focus on term 1 as if you want a good foreign university. Basically, people go just to travel to Europe. That's the main idea. And if you want a non-attending school, so that helps you travel. So 70% depends on your GPA. The rest 30% depends on some PORs, like if you're a class representative or a batch representative, or if you're part of some clubs, or if you won some case competitions, and 30% weightage is given to that. So, but ideally, yeah, most of it depends on your GPA. And it's a good experience. It happens in a bidding process. So getting a good rank in the exchange process is a great idea, so that you are able to choose what you want, where you want to go. Neelay, anything you'd like to add?
I think you pretty much covered it. Prakhar can probably add. I think he was raised his
Prakhar,
hand,
yeah.
and I think
Prakhar, you would like to add something?
Yeah, I went to Germany this time in September to December. So you would be engaged in whole term for there. You will be giving exams there. And again, I had a non-attending school, again, because of high GPA. So it's important to, again, study well in term 1 and term 2. So for us, term 1 and term 2 CGPA counted. So yeah, I think once you have a good CGPA, you will have better chances of converting a non-attending school. Then my whole objective of going to exchange was to just go to Europe and spend. I mean, I went to around 18 to 20 countries out there and experienced a lot of good experiences. So I think that was a good experience for me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's take another question. As a BCom student with no work experience and gap of 1 to 2 years, can I start CAT preparation from scratch now and get high percentile in first attempt? Neelay.
So yeah. So not having work experience or having gap years honestly is not an issue at all. If you're doing anything productive in your off time, it's as long as you can justify it, I mean meaningfully, then you can. Obviously, it has no correlation with your ultimate CAT score. So preparing today, starting today, always a good idea. With respect to explaining your gap years, just give an example. So we were told that at least display what you've done in that time. So if you have probably taken up investing, learned something about trading, something of that sort, if you've been spending your time there, or probably taken up another hobby, maybe you went for the World Cup, you watched the World Cup. Explain if you went for a chess. I had a mentee who had basically gone for a couple of months, and he was one of the organizers at an international level chess tournament. So he was there as a part of that competition, and So these are things that you can explain, and the interviewers do look at it positively at times if you've done something productive at the time. So definitely a good idea to think through your story, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, Shivam, how to manage CAT prep with a full-time work experience and how much time to spend on a daily basis on all the 3 sections? Prakhar, you can add if you want to add something. Yeah, Shivam.
Okay. So for me, my job was, very demanding because there were times we had to sit for quite some time during the night as well, do the develop. So I was in software development, so it usually stretches in the night as well. So my focus area was that I'll try to finish up everything that is related to my job during the weekdays and focus my CAT prep and everything during the weekends completely. And not, have anything done during the weekends from my job perspective. So that was my focus area. And I tried to maintain that for around 3 months, 3 months or so. One thing that I did completely for CAT prep was that I avoided any other sort of distraction or events, meetings, anything, or parties going out, chilling out during the weekend. So that I stopped completely. So that the 2 days are completely dedicated to this. During the end of my during the end of my prep, just nearby CAT, I took a break of 1 week to dedicate fully to that one complete week. And I think the last 2-3 weeks I started allocating around 3 to 4 hours per day during the weekdays as well. So that was my overall strategy for CAT prep along with my job.
Okay. Yeah, Prakhar, you want to add anything?
I think similar, much more demanding job, 12 to
Yeah.
13 hours a day from work. I won't find any time for mock prep during the weekdays. So weekends, I used to keep it clean. Again, 3 hours for mock and then revise that mock that day as well as next day, right? So I used to spend 7 to 8 hours studying and revising and doing stuff. So it is important. Yeah.
Okay, is it true that IIM Ahmedabad only takes engineers who are from IIT? Because I've got 2 IITians and there is a question about, I'm an engineering student, BTech in IT. I do not hail from the IITs. So will it be difficult for me to get selected by IIM Ahmedabad?
I will give you a stat. So out of a batch of 390, around, 65% them of our engineers, right? And 140 are from IITs and 90 are from main IITs. So yes, there are a lot of engineers out there. It's not that you won't be there. It's just that how you perform in the interview and what you write in your AWTs matters the most, right? So I have had friends who are from different NITs and other engineering institutes. But again, it depends on how you perform on that day that matters for me.
Right.
So this was our old campus. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yeah, we can.
Yeah, so this is our old campus picture that I have. And this is our club photo shoot. This is media cell club photo shoot. This is our class photo. And not all of the classes there, just one section of the class is there. And this was a classroom as well. This is from our section. And you can see me here and here in case you wanted to know. And this is before you went for Sangharsh. Sangharsh is the inter-IIM event where A, B, C, and L get together for a sports contest. It's our Olympics of sorts. And do you want to ask our position?
Yeah. Okay. Who is winning, by the way? Yeah. Is it IIM Calcutta by any chance?
No, the host was IIM Calcutta, but IIM B1. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bangalore one. And
Was there a lot of sledging?
yeah, Calcutta does a lot of sledging. Yeah, and we were just shocked.
Because I remember last year in the B School Insider, IIM Calcutta, one of the panelists was showing photos and they were talking about very competitive presentation it was regarding They take it very seriously, it seems like.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this was
Mm.
my team. I got gone for squash. This is a squash team.
Okay.
And then we had a function in
Mm.
IIM. I think this was prom, I think.
Okay.
So this is a lawn opposite of LKP.
Okay.
And this is my study group from term 3. So generally after the term ends, the study group goes out for dinner, etc., just to celebrate. And term 3 is the one with the most demanding group projects, a lot of group projects. So if you have a good group, then you're good. But if you don't have a good group, then you have to
Well.
just pray. And then
Okay. Yeah, that's the
this is
classic
in front
photo
of
with the
yes,
wall. Hmm.
yeah, this is the VSL, Vikram Sarabhai Library.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
great. Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, Padmasandhya. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, you can unshare your, uh, yeah, you can unshare it. Okay, before we wrap up, okay, Neelay, can you give a tip on VARC, how to increase the speed of reading, how to increase reading speed? Then Padmasandhya, you can talk about how to, one tip for quant prep, if that's the weak section. Prakhar, if you can just give a tip on personal interview, one tip that one should keep in mind. Yeah, actually, Shivam, you can actually also give a tip on, like, face to face, since the next term, I believe, it'll be face to face. So maybe, yeah, one tip on personal interview. Okay, yeah, Neelay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first step is to obviously start reading today. And even if you're having work ex, maybe you can find 10 or 15 minutes, spaces during the day where you can read one article or, very long articles. So it's good to read from Smithsonian or Aeon or Scientific American, New Scientist, New York Times. So these are all resources where you will find extremely long articles. What it builds is that it enables you to read new topics for a very long
Okay.
let's say space of content. So then you're building on a lot of ideas, and when you're reading smaller articles, then it'll be easier for you.
Okay.
So that really helps. The target should be to read around 4 or 5 articles of, let's say, 8 or 9 minutes every day. So 10 minutes here and there is easy to find usually. So that should be one way. VARC, mostly if RC is taken care of, VA requires a lot of practice. So VA, maybe you can take up sets or small section level tests also. Even that helps. But taking care of RC, usually I've seen that works all across. It helps with the VA as well. So
Okay.
that's one area.
Yeah. Yeah, Padmasandhya.
So yeah, QA was something that was not my forte. So to start off the bat, I was more focused on just getting a decent enough score in QA because I knew that VARC and DILR mostly will cover up for it. So I just wanted a decent enough score in QA. Now to do this, I was just going through the topics, and in general also I would just say work on what is your strength and work on what is very interesting to you as well. So in QA, certain topics are very, very interesting to me. I really worked a lot on them, did higher difficulty level questions as well. And in the topics that I didn't really like much and I was not really that good at, for example, I'm pretty slow with mental maths. I was pretty slow with mental maths. So it took me some time to develop that speed. So yeah, so for that also I used to solve questions of level of difficulty 1 or 2. Other topics I used to go till 3. And the best tip I can give here is to take mocks. Don't wait to finish a portion and then take a relevant section test. Just take the mocks. I know it can be scary. I know it can be daunting that your score may not seem that good right now or compared to others, but that's okay. What you can see though is if you prepare a data chart, you will see it improving and you will have some basis of deciding what to do next. So just keep taking mocks as well so that you refine your strategy. You understand what to attempt first, what not to attempt at all. Because only when you do mocks, you'll understand sometimes some topics are very interesting, but unfortunately you cannot do them in an exam setting, so you should not pick those up. So those things you will know only if you take mocks. So QA, take a lot of mocks, take a lot of sectional tests as well to help you boost that speed.
Okay. Yeah, Prakhar, PI.
So for the PI, again, you can divide it into two, before PI and during that PI. So before the PI, you can ideally cover everything under the sun, but it's important to connect or to learn anything that is connected to you and what you want to show, right? You have done an internship, you should know each and everything about the industry. You have done work experience, same. You have studied and you are a fresher, you have studied, let's say, chemical engineering, you should know about top 3 subjects. Or what you hail from, let's say, Delhi, then what are the important facts about Delhi, right? Or what is the current affairs in Delhi? So
Right.
that should be on your tips. Again, you can read everything else. You should prioritize this, and then again, then come back to other things. But you need to prioritize those things, because those are the only things that will be asked about yourself, about your surroundings, and whatever you have done, right?
Okay.
On the day of the interview, as I said earlier, it is important to keep calm and try to have that conversation. You can have some witty responses. You can and try to keep not as a yes or no answer or a short term or something like very close-ended question should not be there. Sorry, close-ended answer should not be
Answer.
there. You should be having, if you speak an open-ended, do an open-ended, or speak an open-ended statement, they will try to dive deeper into it, and
Correct.
from there you can drive that interview into your direction. So it's important that how you drive that conversation itself. Those are the
Okay. Yeah. Shivam, can you give a tip on how to handle the pressure while you're waiting for the personal interview, and even for that matter, even waiting for the calls? How do you cope with the pressure?
Yeah, so this has happened with me across the IIM interview. So what we usually do, right, when we were sitting, we used to ask the person who has just come out of the interview, what was the type of questions asked, what is the mood or tone of the discussion, right? And you can be mentally prepared with that and whatever is coming, response coming from the panel. But once you get in, right, it's more like how to keep yourself calm, because it's very natural to get conscious or nervous during that time, and it might happen that things that might not come out properly or might come out incorrectly, right? And that has happened with me as well. So what happens usually is that if you just keep your posture, or you keep your face confident and have a smile, that internally will make you more comfortable when you are going in. Having the preconceived notions of how the questions were and all those things will keep some give you some expectation of what is going to happen. And more or less just understand that, just keep one thing in mind, that they are not going to they're not your enemies, or they're not going to grill you intentionally. It's just that they're just checking you are not you're not doing very bad in the interview. The interviews are for selection, not for rejection. So you have done very good in CAT score. So it's just that they are checking that you are decent enough or good enough to share your thoughts in a structured fashion.
Right.
That's it. So it's just for the selection, not for rejection.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I would like to thank all the attendees for the lovely questions that were asked. And thank you, Padmasandhya. Thank you, Shivam, Kumar. Thank you, Prakhar, Gupta. And thank you, Neelay Jain. Thank you so much for giving insights on all these questions about IIM Ahmedabad and life after MBA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalyani.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye.